Mrs. Bregu, I see that you are touring the region in preparation of the Sofia summit. Are there any difficulties considering the recent issues between Sofia and Skopje?
Well, I think that Balkans is never short of difficulties. And that's why everybody loves this region, so you never get bored in here. And then difficulties and challenges are part of our daily work and our daily lives. But I do hope that this is going to be a good moment, irrespective of some latest discussions between North Macedonia and Bulgaria. But I think it's going to be a good moment because for the very first time, a Western Balkan country will be sharing with an EU country, the Berlin process. So I hope that by let's say 11th of November, once we'll have the summit ended, we'll all be considering whatever will come out of the meeting in Sofia summit as a successful event. So by successful, I do not mean that only leaders will have to shake hands physically with each other after working or seeing each other online. I do mean that this new plan that together with Western Balkan 6 and EC Commission, so RCC leading plus the other regional organizations, on offering an idea on how to move ahead with the common market now, our common market, the regional common market.
How the regional cooperation is functioning during the COVID crisis?
You know, we are used to hear about political high tones and time after time setbacks in discussions about the cooperation, and there is usually, as people perceive it, that there is kind of a difference in between the reality and the political colloquiums that happen. But frankly, I have to say that this is the second time, and especially this was the hardest test, let's say, the pandemic, the COVID break, that really made us think that cooperation can work in the region if the political willingness and all the setup is promoting that. When we started with the pandemic, you know that it was quite hard. Everybody was uncertain, even in the EU and everywhere globally. It was not only here in the Balkans that we were frightened. And then we had all these problems, the first ones with the border crossing points. Out of that, because we based on the good understanding of every and single economy in the region, stories that really hardly hit the media. So I know the journalists speak openly about the dialogue Pristina-Belgrade, but few know that in those days we all together, and Pristina and Belgrade and the border crossing points between Serbia and Kosovo were working normally to pass these trucks and goods. With delays as in every border crossing point, but it worked out. And I think that these are good examples. The roaming agreement that we made last year, that was a good example as well. So you know that some things might be really hard to achieve bilaterally and in a near short time. But regionally there is an understanding. 65% of the people in the region do have that understanding, that if we stay stronger and if we stay together, we will have more profits than damages. And I think that this kind of consciousness is prevailing everywhere. It comes out of necessity. Yes, I know that. It comes out of being more grown up and understanding how the world functions. It comes because we know that our region is a small region, even if we do really great all together, let alone if we divide in small markets that nobody will be interested. But I see that there is an uprising in the consciousness that cooperation brings us closer to each other and helps our citizens.
What is the biggest obstacle in the regional cooperation? The rule of law, corruption, or the political issues between the countries?
I don't want to give my personal flavor on that.
Why not?
No, because I would like to mention to you what the citizens of the region, and I think that's more interesting than what I think personally. People think that the biggest problem in the region, so overwhelming amount of citizens, for them it's unemployment. That's the biggest problem. So economy-wise, they think unemployment and job growth is the biggest problem. In terms of trust in institutions, they overwhelmingly do not have a trust in our institutions and do not trust political parties and parliaments, which is even a bigger problem. rule of law, corruption is in there, but it's quite interesting. Nobody really dared to say before or years ahead that, you know, the problem in our countries comes from the political parties, because they pick up the people that tomorrow will be in the government or so on, nepotism. But this time, people said it everywhere. And that's the biggest problem that I see in the region, is the perspective. It's not your daily life. It's not only the bread and butter for today. It's the perspective, the uncertainty for your kids, and this big kind of anxiety and frustration among young people that would always like to leave. That's, I think, it's quite a problem that we can do our part in the story. But definitely the responsibility goes to the political leadership of the economies. So we can only coordinate and just help move a process forward. But it's of utmost importance to keep our economies moving, our markets joined all together, to give more chances to these young people and professionals to move freely in the region. We were discussing in the meetings yesterday. No one can really find 1,200 IT skilled people in North Macedonia to work immediately and be employed in one of I don't know, any investor would like for that. But if we had that mobility pillar, which is mutual recognition of academics and qualifications in place, then we could have shared from the whole region.
Is there a Balkan labor market?
I would like to call it our common market. It gives to us a sense of ownership, responsibility that comes with ownership, and then even legacy. So a common market will really present and introduce us on foreign investors as we are. One market that can really make a difference. So I would really like to have that idea of the same model of EU, of the single market, as a common market, to be working well in the region.
These days in Macedonia we have a discussion about employment of ethnic minorities and subsidizing it in the private companies. What do you think about it?
Listen, as per rule, I refrain to give comments, and I'm not even allowed to give comments on a single economy or a single country. What I know, and I think that this is a good example, is for the very first time ever in North Macedonia, we have such a multi-ethnic government. And as well, all, let's say, the good happenings of considering as well Albanians as responsible as well and part of this country. And on the rest are North Macedonia's internal discussions. So I think that there are enough voices in here to make a list of pros and cons on that.
As a woman, I'm sure that most of your meetings are only with men. We don't have, nobody cares about the gender in the employment. How that can be improved?
I think that is not a discussion that runs only in the region. In terms of empowering women to get into the higher position of decision making, it is kind of a story everywhere in the world. I think that a lot has been done, and I would really love to see more empowerment of women economically, because that makes you more independent, and whenever somebody tries to quit you, you'll fall but you'll rise again.
Thank you very much for the interview, Mrs. Bregu.
Thank you.